After a short but intense clash, Butler's men withdrew. A double bluff gone wrong. Colonel Simcoe's Queen's Rangers, Colonel Butler's American militia, and a herd of very confused cattle. This is the Battle of Spencer's Ordinary. Spencer's Ordinary wasn't a fort. It wasn't earthwork or defensive position. It was an ordinary, another term for a tavern. A place where travelers could eat, drink, and rest. The real importance wasn't the building. It was the road. It was an intersection of one of the few main routes in Williamsburg, a critical artery for troops, wagons, and supplies. Anyone moving cattle or provisions overland would almost certainly have to pass through here. It made it a natural flashpoint. On the morning of June 26th, 1781, it became a battlefield. By the summer of 1781, the war in Virginia had entered its final violent phase. British forces were stretched thin, constantly moving, constantly foraging, constantly under pressure. General Cornwallis was maneuvering his army east towards Yorktown, following orders from General Clinton to establish a beachhead and secure naval supply route there. The plan was to resupply, regroup, and keep his options open. But armies don't move without food. And food meant cattle, which is exactly what Simcoe was moving through this area. Colonel John Graves Simcoe commanded the Queen's Rangers, a fast, aggressive unit built for movement and deception. Escorting the cattle through contested territory was exactly the kind of mission they were trained for. Riding along with Simcoe was Captain Johann Ewald. He was a Hessian officer serving with the British Army in Virginia. He commanded a unit of Jaegers, Hessian mercenaries, who were specialized in light infantry tactics, trained for scouting, skirmishing, and operating in woods and rough terrain. On the other side, though, Colonel Butler was leading the American militia and light troops. His job was simple: deny the British supplies and harass them wherever possible. But neither side knew exactly who they were about to encounter. The accounts of this battle include two really awesome maps. One is drawn by Ewald, it's in German, and there's one that's drawn by Simcoe, that's in English. These maps don't just show positions, they show perception. According to modern estimates, Simcoe's force numbered about 400 men. Colonel Butler's had roughly about 570 men. These are not large armies, but their movements through uneven terrain and the sound of firing, the horses, the cattle, made each side appear stronger than they really were. Simcoe likely believed Butler's men were the advanced element of a much larger American force, and he had good reason to think that. The Marquis de Lafayette was operating in Virginia with an army of 4,000 men, following closely behind Cornwallis. His main force was nearby, close enough to shape every decision being made here. Because of that expectation, Simcoe chose not to commit everything at once. He deliberately held elements of the Queen's Rangers in reserve. He wasn't fighting what he could see. He's preparing for what he believed was still coming. Simcoe would later describe the ground here as an admirable place for the chicanery of action. That wind is so cold. I should have packed my surplus history hoodie. If you're cold, you really should pack your surplus history hoodie. You can get one in the link below. Captain Ewald had ridden through the night. Moving cattle meant constant motion, often under the cover of darkness, to avoid detection. By the time he finally rode into Spencer's Ordinary, but no sooner had he laid his head down than shots rang out to the front left. After a short but intense clash, Butler's men withdrew. Simcoe held the field and the cows. But neither side won decisively. Neither side was lying. Both sides were wrong. Terrain, noise, limited visibility made each force appear larger than it was. Each commander prepared to fight an enemy that didn't exist. A few hundred men were involved in this action. Only a handful were killed. Several dozen were wounded or captured. And there was definitely some cattle with PTSD. This wasn't the last time these forces would meet. Just days later, they clashed again at the Battle of Green Spring, where Cornwallis attempted to draw Lafayette into a trap. Most of these skirmishes, though, have faded from memory. Small fights like this one matter, because the choices made here ripple forward in time. Imagine if Simcoe had been killed or captured here, how differently the Battle of Green Spring would have unfolded. History often turns on moments that barely register at the time. If you want to visit Spencer's Ordinary, you can't. It doesn't exist anymore. It was on the corner of what is now Long Hill Road and Centerville Road, most likely where the veterinarian hospital is now. And across the street, though, there is a convenience store called Miller's. On the other side of Centerville Road is Freedom Park. Freedom Park is a modern-day public park, but inside of Freedom Park is this reconstructed 19th century free black settlement. And it's a pretty cool park as well. So if you're to come out and see Spencer's Ordinary at the Animal Hospital, come across the street to Freedom Park and check that out as well. Thanks, it's been historical.